What is Juneteenth? How should you celebrate it? Are your ancestors calling on you for liberation and healing? Those questions and more on this episode of the Mother Tree Network. Inside. Hey, gorgeous. Aminata here, and I am so excited to introduce my Juneteenth episode to you. What is Juneteenth? Well, Juneteenth is a grassroots holiday created by African Americans after or to commemorate when the people in Texas found out that they had been freed, when they found out that the South had surrendered to the North in April, but the news didn't get to Texas until June. So that's why it's called Juneteenth. It's a celebration. And the days, the exact day is a little bit disputed. So why not call it Juneteenth? I love that. What I'm doing in this episode is taking a more personal look at Juneteenth and what it brings up in me in terms of my own conversation about liberation and about belonging. So you're going to hear me talk about foster care in this episode. And I just want you to know I grew up in foster care in New York City. And if you have ever been, living on the grace of strangers or been institutionalized by the state because you couldn't take care of yourself or people couldn't take care of you, I just want you to know you're not alone. Me too. And it was difficult. I mean, there are some happy moments, and it was difficult. But the big instability that foster care, I think, cultivates inside of you when you're going through it, these other kids, they're the real kids of the house. And I'm one of the fake kids. That is one of the temporary disposable kids of the house. And you're going to hear me talk about that, use that as a metaphor in this episode for what I think is a precarious existence of Black people in what we think of as the United States, in our story of belonging, not belonging, real kids versus fake, at any moment able to be left out. This is a powerful episode, and it begins with a poem, which I hope you will enjoy, called the Ancestors poem. One of the things that I'm doing now that I wasn't doing as consistently a year ago is really developing a practice of connecting with and healing my ancestral lineage and seeking liberation through my connection with my ancestors and the divine. So if you are interested in finding out what or if your ancestors are calling you, please come to my workshop on July 12th. It's called The Ancestors Are Calling You, and it is being offered to the community at large. You can just go to my website, dramandaKemp.com/ancestors. You can go to the show notes, but this workshop is all about healing and liberation, connecting with your ancestors for healing and liberation. So I hope to see you there. Without further ado, here is my meditation on Juneteenth. The ancestors are calling you. The ancestors are calling you. They say, remember me. They say, forgive me. They say, I forgive you. And they call and they weep
when they see us dead on our feet, when they see us walking nowhere, running after the same thing again and again and again and again. You here, you there, running for that job, for that man, for that bottle, for that weed, for that strawberry shortcake, the whole cake. You know, the ancestors are calling you. You know, the ancestors are calling you to stop and feel and know. Remember?
As I shared the poem out loud this morning, I'm thinking about what my ancestors, my benevolent and most enlightened ancestors have for me. What is the message that they have for me? Of course, first is the message of love, the message of I belong, that there's no way I could not belong. And part of the illusion of being in America and being Black is the constant, schizophrenia, craziness, anxiety about belonging. And where do you belong? And do you belong enough? And one of the things I've struggled with in these 50 odd years that I've been on this planet, in this body, is that sense of the belonging. Because I grew up in foster care in part, but also because I grew up in America. I was born in the segregated South in Mississippi. There's this absolute love and disgust toward Blackness in America. And the societal context combined with the instability in my family and the sense of not being good enough, to have been taken care of by my birth family. And inside of our soul journey to the summer solstice, I was reflecting in my writing yesterday. Yesterday was about release. I was reflecting in my writing yesterday that one of the thoughts that I carry around in my body, in my solar plexus, upper solar plexus, is the sensation that I am a fake child and there are some real children, and real children belong, and real children get to make mistakes in their families and still be loved and not given away or taken back. The real kids don't have to work for love. It's us fake kids who got to be out here, proving ourselves so that we don't get kicked out. And what's so weird is, as I was writing this, feeling it in my body, where it comes from inside of my body, I started thinking about, quote, real kids, and how even the real kids I know, those who grew up inside of their families, those whose parents do love them and provide for them, even those kids have anxiety about being fake kids. Even those kids have the fear of abandonment. So this poem of the ancestors saying, I forgive you, and them saying, remember me and forgive me, it's like, to me, it's like saying that we belong to each other. 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 We belong. I belong. I wish everybody could just say, I belong, I belong, I belong. And as I was journaling yesterday, I was realizing I was feeling into belonging to the earth, belonging, like literally belonging to the earth, like I am her child. I am of this earth. I am kin to the stones and the crows and the butterflies and the cardinals and the waters running, the brooks, the creeks. I belong just as much as they belong. I belong. And it is this colonization, this dis-ease that perpetuates the illusion of not belonging. I want to touch on forgiveness because this is Juneteenth, so of course we're thinking about slavery, freedom and slavery. And, yesterday as I was walking, I was like, well, you could have the holiday, but give me reparations. I was thinking about how easy it is to fight for and get the symbolic things, like a holiday, as opposed to moving resources like money and land and doing that difficult work. But I also want to talk about slavery, freedom, and forgiveness, because that play that I ended up writing about Benjamin Franklin and slavery, it stayed inside the question of, can we forgive slavery? Can we forgive Benjamin Franklin? Can we forgive Deborah Reed Franklin? Who both practice enslaving people and who practice, I would call it emancipating. Let's call it emancipating people, for lack of a better, more subtle way of describing that. And I think it has to be held inside of a context of, first of all, numerous atrocities against human beings of one group over other groups, of the atrocities created when states become empires and create ideologies and whole systems to oppress people. We people of African descent are not the first oppressed people, or the only, or even the last. So hold it bigger. It's almost like elevating up to see longer history, longer time. And also to see us as belonging to the earth and to all of her peoples. And honestly, in that context, it is not my place to forgive atrocities against humanity. In that context, it is my place to hold the souls and the histories with compassion. It is my place to notice where in my body, in my lineage, in my DNA, the capacity for horror, for empire, for, extraction, where it shows up. And to not exile it or repress it, but to befriend it. Not to let it run me, but to befriend it. If it's here, it needs to be seen and considered. So, this is a grown-ass episode. This is not an episode that's going to give you some easy answers. But I'm pointing toward a way of holding, of being with, where righteousness does not creep into resentment and those satisfying feelings of being better than. I'm going to take a moment. So on this Juneteenth, I encourage you to tap into your ancestors, to ask what message they have for you. And of course, the first way to tap into is to remember, to reattach, remember, to not break off, but to remember. To remember what is most easily available to you. Start there. And then expand from there. Start with what is easy, what is most available to you, and then spread from there. So the first words they say is remember me. Second is forgive me. So they have done or not done, or ways that they have been in this planet, been disharmonious, maybe have been outright extractive, or, acting inside of all the awfulness of rape culture. So they say, forgive me. And then the third thing they say is, I forgive you. And I think that is our work, is to remember and accept, to allow love to flow between us and our ancestors, which is one way of looking at forgiveness, and then to forgive ourselves, to allow love to flow in and out of us freely. To allow love to flow in and out of us freely is one way to forgive ourselves, and to allow love to flow between us and others is one way to think about forgiving others. And so that's what I have for you for this Juneteenth episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up whole and holy. And if you would like to work with our Slow is Good programs, if you would like to find out more about what it's like to have one-on-one mentoring with me, please just go to Amanda at dramandakemp.com, Amanda at dramandakemp.com. That's my email. Or just go to my website, dramandakemp.com. All right, peace and love. See you next time.